Well, that's a really good question. But before we answer it, I just want to say Ask a Priest Live gives you direct access to faithful Catholic priests who answer your questions every single day. And because we're 100% listener funded, that line stays open. Consider supporting us at thestationofthecross.com. Now, this is a good one here, Father. Anne Marie over on YouTube is asking, what do I tell my kids when they ask about all of the pride flags everywhere? And what do they mean? Is it okay to lie in this case? Or maybe do you have a more prudential suggestion for her?
To begin with, you can never lie. Like, lying is always sinful. It is never justified. So you can never lie, but you don't always have to say everything that's necessarily could be said on a given topic. You can be reserved, you can be circumspect if you need to, which is not lying. Lying is sort of expressing contrary to what you know in your head. So if you're thinking A and you say B, that's lying. But if you're thinking A and you say like roundabout A, ambiguously, okay, that's not necessarily lying. It could be something else, but in any case. So what do you tell your kids about these flags? It depends on the age of your kid, right? So, or your children, right? So you need to be prudent. You need to be discreet. You be able to say more with older ones than you can with younger ones. It can't be a one size fits all answer because your children aren't one size fits all. So we do need to be prudent, but we need to make sure that they have at least some understanding if they're going to be seeing these things of that they represent bad stuff that people are celebrating. And maybe that's all you need to say to the younger ones, and the older ones, you can get a little bit more into it. But it could be an opportunity, especially with the older ones, to really have some serious talks about, what does the church teach about marriage and sexuality and man and woman and what it means to be a human person. These are all important conversations that we need to have, and don't presume that just because they're going to Mass and CCD that they're getting these conversations. So have them, but do it prudently and fittingly for the age of the child. But do not lie.
Anne Marie, thanks for sending in that question. I think you're right, Father. With kids particularly, like you mentioned, you have to kind of discern their age and how much you want to say. But really, your kids don't have to know everything about the world, right?
Things can come with time. It doesn't need to be all or nothing. It can be, done gradually. And we kind of see that in the catechism books too, right? Like your catechism book for your 7-year-old is not the same as for your teenager. And there's a reason for that, right? And so we can do the same when we're talking to our children about things. Again, we don't want to be lying, but we don't always have to be, here's everything that you need to know on this given topic. But also keep in mind too that knowledge per se does not destroy innocence, depending on how it's given. Because Our Lady clearly knew where babies came from, right? And she was the most innocent person who's ever lived, innocent human person. Of course, our Lord is the most innocent sort of person with a human nature. So knowledge itself does not necessarily destroy innocence and purity, depending on how it's given. So we don't want to have that fear. There are ways to do it appropriately and ways that are inappropriate. So we want to make sure that we're doing it appropriately. But just know that knowledge itself is not forbidden, and knowledge can be compatible. Knowledge of evil things and even natural things that can be used in an evil way, and which can even be used in a good way or in a holy way, does not necessarily destroy innocence. Because again, Our Lady knew this information. She knew where babies came from, but she was still pure and immaculate, even though she had the knowledge. So.